All right, the PTO killer dowel pin of Case Tractors strikes again. Here we go. All right, on the MX90C. So if you look at the video of the MX110, everything wrong with MX110, we told you about the PTO pins. And if your PTO is putting pressure on the shaft, you'll break these little pins off. Well, you're in luck, because if you broke those, we're now going to show you how to fix it. Because this one's got the pins broke. So I was using this thing on a stump grinder and 3-point hitch stump grinder, 3-point hitch, PTO shaft, everything seems normal, nothing was binding. But I think the problem was that in the PTO, where the PTO slides together, there was not enough grease in there. And then as the stump grinder, as it's under load, you know, it slides together nice, laying here like no load on it, but under load, it probably was binding a little bit. And if you ever ground stumps before, there's a lot of vibrations and stuff. And that vibrated up the PTO shaft and was putting pressure on here. So then when you go to change your shaft, and that sleeve comes out, that's bad. Because that's what those little pins go into. So this gear sits in there like this, and those little pins get driven down into those grooves. Like you can see, they're sitting out right now, right? Like they'll be driven down into those grooves. And then that's what shifts your gear. So if that comes out, then you get to take it all apart like we're gonna do for this one. All right, so we're gonna take the whole PTO housing off, which splits here. So this whole back end comes off, 3-point hitch, the whole works. So first thing, you gotta take the oil out of the tractor, of course. Make sure you have the hitch down when you start this and you take the oil out, because there's a line going right here to the bottom. This is your hitch lift cylinder here. And there's a line going to the bottom here, and you have to take this line off to get the bolts out and to split it. And if your hitch is up and you take that line off, it'll empty that cylinder out on top of you and the hitch becomes a pump. So yes, I've been down that road more than once. So yeah, this all off. Now, you can just take all these lines off and work back here and then get these, there's bolts in here, but you gotta take all the lines off. So it's 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3 to take this whole stack off out of the way, and then it's out of your road. We're gonna take the lines off, we're gonna take the remote valves off, we're gonna take the hitch arms off. So here we go.
Okay, so when your line's really tight, just take your hammer, tap the line.
Face fitting O-rings. Not working this time. Thumbs in there. All right. I think
I thought I felt something move, but
I think we made progress. Oh. What the heck? That feels better.
Much better. So yeah, pry bars, whatever it takes, get them loose.
Just get that first 1/10 of a turn, and then away it goes. Look at that. So there's 1, 2, 3 bolts in that one. They got to come out. I've done it, taking those out with that valve block in the way, but isn't it just so much easier to get to?
It is much nicer. All flat face O-rings.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
No.
Try to keep it clean, pressure wash it. Of course, every time you pressure wash it, everything looks spotless except for where you can't get.
Well, yeah, you can't get underneath that, right? So it looked clean before we started taking stuff off.
Okay, what's next?
A couple wires unhook this line going down there. You want to do the ultra dangerous job, take the drawbar off?
I don't want to break my arm. Look how big that is.
Hey, nobody. Hey,
shoe for comparison.
Every job has its dangers and its risks.
Okay, 4 bolts along the bottom, 1 line that goes into a T on there, on the driver's passenger side. Then the row bolts across the top. Do yourself a favor, go to Princess Auto, get an 1 3/16 wrench and socket. You got
short, shallow 1/2 inch.
A 1/2 inch drive? Okay.
Because it's tight, like a 3/4. You can't get into this guy with a 3/4.
Okay, 1/2 inch drive.
1/2 inch drive.
Got it. All right.
Get all those out?
All those out. That's just the two on the sides. There is dowels that hold it in place, right?
Yeah, so we'll just loosen those for a minute, and then we'll put the
Chain on.
chain on, and then we'll just zip them out, and then off it comes. Did you get all the bolts out?
4 on the bottom, 5 or 6 on the top. That's why I use silicone and not Loctite. Come right off. It's not really changing any tone.
No. Okay, right through the window here. There we go.
There we go. Up.
Yep. All right, so when you're dragging it out, this oil tube can either pull out of here, or out of that side, or out of both. And the shaft is gonna pull out. Ideally it stays in there, but not a big deal if it slides out of there. Just before you get in here and get rammed around, slide it out of there so you don't bugger that up. So anyways, now we are free and clear.
Nice.
All right, so this is an oil baffle. So it holds oil back there. So there's probably about, I don't know, this much oil in there still. There's a drain plug here that you can pull out. When you're supposed to, when you drain the oil tractor, you're supposed to pull that one out too. Mine's stripped. So I said, well, we're just gonna leave it and we're just gonna do it this way. So when you change your oil in your tractor, you pull this one out, you get like a half a liter. So I don't know, it's usually hardly worth it, but just be aware that if you don't pull that one out, you pull this off, you're gonna get
Half a liter.
you're gonna get a small bath. There it is. All right, so we're gonna give a shout out to the engineers here. So we're gonna take this off. So on the 5000 series Maxims, this plate here is cast with this. It's all one. This part here is cast with this. So to get this apart, you got to work in here. You got to get your little 1024 pins in there. You got to pull those pins out that I was showing you. You got to pull those out, and then you can slide all that apart. So when they came out with the MX series, they thought made life really easy for us. And now with 4 bolts, you can take this casting out, and you can just pull that whole shaft out and work on the bench. So way easier. But if you're doing this on a 5200 or 5100 series Maximum, it's going to be a little bit more challenge because you can't just pop that shaft out.
Exact same process. Now we can show you exactly.
Yeah.
It's just you have to do it behind there. And,
Yeah.
And what's that?
This is the PTO clutch.
Okay. And what to look for there?
You can take it all apart and check your clutches if you want, but typically I've never done a PTO clutch on one of these before.
Really?
No. Normally we just take that bolt out and stick that off to the side and stick it all back together.
Okay.
So you can pull the snap ring out of here and just check your clutch back if you want.
Put it back the way you found it. There's no seals or anything in there.
Well, there will be in the piston in the back,
Just
right?
on the piston, yeah.
But
But you can get your clutch sticks.
Yeah,
out of that,
if that clutch pack is smoked, then those O-rings have been hot, then change them, right? But we're just changing these pins because we broke it, right? All right, easiest way to get the clutch off is just to use an impact and take the bolt out of the middle. Off it comes. Now I don't know. We can pop that snap ring out if we want to look in there, but
I don't think that's necessarily. It looks more or less like the clutch sticks in the transmission rebuild. So go look at that video and same idea.
Yes, exact same. Exact same. Yeah, it's computer controlled. I don't know what you want to call it. Computer monitored. So there's a speed sensor here that's running off this gear. So that gear is going to be spinning all the time. Doesn't matter if you're in 540 or 1000, right? It just won't be going through. So then, depending on where this sits, that'll tell it if it's in 540 or 1000. So it takes that information and the information from this gear to determine how fast this should be going. Now it also pulls off the W terminal off the alternator.
Okay.
So you can see the engine speed.
Okay.
So when you put the PTO on, it'll give it 6 seconds for them to match. So if the engine speed's 1500 RPM, the PTO should be X at whatever, it's 540 out. And if it doesn't, it'll shut it off.
Oh.
So the idea is that if you're slipping the clutch, they don't match, it'll cut it off before you burn your clutch out.
Yeah, no, the issue with burning clutches is all that crap ends up in the oil, and that ends up everywhere.
And who really wants to do this job, right?
Yeah. So that's the speed sensor on the side there.
So if you're having trouble where you turn the PTO on and it runs for 6 seconds fine and then quits, then it's probably either the speed sensor or it's this little switch in the back. And it'll get a lot of trouble. Now we should show you taking it apart. There's a little switch here in the back.
Oh yeah.
And the wires run up under here and around, and they rub in here and they wear through. If they wear through and they short out, they'll blow the fuse for the PTO controller and the tractor won't move.
Oh,
because that's the PTO controller also controls your forward reverse.
Okay.
Or if just one wire breaks, it might not sense whatever speed you're in and it'll throw that code.
Okay.
But yeah, speed sensors, really haven't changed a lot of those. We had a lot of trouble with that switch there.
Okay.
And then the W terminal on the alternator, that's the one that, but that one's easy to check. You just check your dash. And if your dash isn't reading engine RPM correctly, well, then you go with the alternator.
Okay. Nice. So we removed that sensor for the 540-1000. I straightened that cotter pin for you.
Oh, you did?
Slide it out. Yeah. I don't do nothing while I wait for you.
There we go. The engine scan tells you that?
Yeah, that's a code. It says excessive rod clearance.
Oh. That washer just went to the bottom.
Yeah, but not a big deal. Magnet on the bottom. Just
Well, we gotta pull that out anyway, so.
Okay. All right.
You wonder why I wanted to change the oil.
Yeah. Brakes.
Yeah, the parking brake, I think. So these 4 bolts, and then that comes off, and then that shaft comes out.
2 instead of like 6.
You get a lot of grief. You're using the chrome socket on the impact.
It's a DeWalt. It doesn't have enough power to chrome socket.
So, thank you engineers for making that plate removable. Here, hold that, would you? Out. All right, I'm gonna put this on the bench. All right, so you turn that. So that's the shift collar there. See, there's the pin right there. This is the shift collar right here. It's currently in between gears, so that's what happens. It sits in between the gears, right? And that's why PTO doesn't work, right? Because that's not pinned to anything. So because that sleeve is out of the middle, we should just be able to drive that pin down and out. Otherwise, here. I see a broken one right there.
Let's see.
And it's coming out this end.
Oh.
There.
Yep.
See, broken. And that's the spring, and then there's a washer here. So that's supposed to hold it all back. So we'll put those back in this direction later. It's kind of hard to line that shift sleeve up with that spring in there. That was hard. Where'd it go?
Any chance of these pieces ever getting caught in between gears? You ever seen it?
No, but typically you can find all the pieces.
Okay.
No, I kind of think I want to pull that apart just so we can have a look at that ring.
Okay.
That's typically what we do.
Let's go.
Oh yeah. Let's say usually not that tight.
The bottom row first.
I don't know.
That's it.
Yep. Bottom row first.
No. Well, you can look at the holes now.
Yeah, you can look at the holes now, that's for sure. But now we can't get that thing in the... Oh, it doesn't have that much more to go.
I know, it's right there. Anyway.
This ring, this is up to you if you want to change it or not. Like the pins are still going to fit tight in there, so I'm not going to change it. We have in the past seen pins fall out. So we always Loctite them in there. But yeah, you can, if you want to be sure, change the ring.
So it's not expensive parts wise. If you're getting into it, you need a giant tub of silicone, right?
Giant tub of silicone? No.
And then that ring, the pin, and that's it, right?
The seals, a couple of rings.
Oh, okay.
The guy, you put a new seal in the end.
Okay.
So then those. But yeah, I'm gonna Loctite those pins in. I'm sure they won't fall out then. And away we go. And I should show you something about that sleeve for a minute, because they had multiple upgrades in those. We had more trouble with the sleeves than we did with that ring. So I have an extra ring here that I changed out once upon a time. So we might use that one because I know those are solid. So these sleeves, there's a, I don't know if can you see that button down the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes that button, because the shaft is in there, and you can see the end of the shaft is getting a little wore from running on that button. Yep. So that'll, right, if it's vibrating so long, it wears that button down, and then same problem, instead of being like this, it's actually like going in too far.
Yep.
And then it won't shove it into 540. So if that button's wore down, then you gotta change the sleeve, and the way you change the sleeve is exactly how we're doing this. So have a look at this. The other thing is you check your holes here, make sure they're not like peened over, right, from busting it out.
Right.
And then if you're lucky enough to have a 5000 series Maximum that's never been done, you can see here they got a little pin in here. The earlier ones had trouble where because this is screwed in there, where it would actually back out.
Oh.
Right, so this was the upgrade. They drilled them and put it in. So if you don't have that in there,
take your finger out of there for a second. Yeah, that little pin right.
Then you probably should just change it, because what happens is that backs out. Then A, you PTO problems. B, you got oil running out. So that was like, I have all late model equipment, right? MX Maxims built them. They're only 30 years old, not 40. But anyways, if you have a 5000 series Maximum, chances are they've been done. But if not, have a look at that, because that'll be something you want to check out. So that's all the troubles we have with those. So another upgrade to these things is the splines here on the PTO. So they got these splines here. See, they're worn a little bit there. See that? And they run in here, right? That's the gauges in there.
Yeah.
It's a little loose, but they're fine. But the earlier ones had splines that looked like this, like a finer spline.
Yeah.
And they would strip out bad. So this was the fix. They went to this wider spline thing. So if you have that earlier style, so this one I think is just a matter of me just changing the shaft, which is going to be, it's pretty tight that way. Just change the shaft. I can probably get away just changing the shaft. But if you have the earlier style, then you might want to change the sleeve and this to go to the later style if that's getting worn hard. Because same thing. If it strips out, you got no PTO and you're doing this again.
Yeah.
How do you like your bearings, Rich?
275.
Medium rare?
Medium rare. 20 minutes, no longer. 275 degrees.
Flip or no flip?
No flip.
Okay.
So you don't need the press to put it back on, but a toaster oven works great for putting the bearings, just heating them up and dropping them right on. You get one shot, and then you don't need the press to put it back on.
Pins came out of one that was leaking, like this O-ring was leaking on here. So pull it all apart, but I was worried about the pins coming out back then, so these never broke. So I'm gonna use this ring because I'm thinking this has had 2 sets of pins through it already. So we're gonna use this one. New pins. Pins are like $2 a piece. We're not even gonna bother messing around with old ones. If you ever take this apart, always just get new pins. It's just, why would you not?
Yeah.
Oop. Hit that too. All right, so that, now you gotta make sure everything lines up.
Oh no.
It goes on there, and then we put some oil on the O-ring. So yeah, this is kind of hard to do when when you have all the gears and everything in there. It's a lot of fun in a 5000 series Maximum because you're trying to do this
You have to do this all behind that housing?
In there. Yeah, you gotta put those pins on in there. So those pins, you see there's threaded holes in them. That's so you can put a little screw down in there and working in there. You put a screw in and you get a pry bar and you pull those pins out. Oh yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
See, so then because that sleeve, right, can go wherever it wants.
Yeah. Oh, I see, yeah.
That like that, and that like that. Oh, thanks a lot. Just screwed it all up.
Okay.
So now we should put a little brake cleaner in there. Hold up and then.
That would help.
So you see the inside of the pin is threaded. So to get it to
Out in the older series tractor, what bolt thread is that?
I think it's 1024.
Okay.
See, now the trick is to make sure you're in that. Yeah, so you can see it. There, we're in the hole now, right?
yeah.
The fact that it goes all the way down past the splines
Yeah.
is a good indication that it's into that hole in the sleeve, right?
Yeah.
And then if you really don't know, you just turn around the other side and hey, look, that hole's lined up, so it must be right. Well, it's a lot of fun hammering those pins inside that housing too,
Yeah, I can imagine.
right? So then, now that's gonna shift that way. Now we can put that spring back in there. That's a good thing too. There. So that's forcing it down into the, right?
Yeah.
And then this goes back down. And it goes on. And our bearing goes on. You got the most calloused hands, so you get to carry the hot bearing over.
We're bringing this over to the toaster oven.
Nice and gloves. What we gotta do.
By the time you get here, the bearing will be too cold.
Just like that. Perfect. So this is a sealant you're supposed to use. It's we call it 515. That's what they used to call it. Now that's the numbers down there. 5153 anaerobic flange sealant. I think it's a Loctite product. The nice thing about it is, so this thing's been sitting around for a bunch of years, and look, it hasn't gone hard. So it won't go hard unless you take the air away. Once the oxygen's gone, it'll go hard. So if you goop a little bit on the inside and it goes in there, your filter will catch it.
Oh.
But it won't plug up your screens or any orifices or like that. Whereas that silicone, you know, you get a chunk in there and it plugs up an orifice or something and I get issues, right? So that's why we curse silicone. So the one thing about it though is when it does dry, it goes like rock hard. So you can see.
Just like normal Loctite.
Right. So it's a real pain to scrape and clean unless you have gasket stripper, which you can't find anymore because they take everything that works good off the market. So I had a guy that had a couple cans kicking around. So hopefully
It doesn't work with a razor getting behind it?
it does, but it's so hard, right? You just, this stuff, you just spray this on. Don't get any on you because it'll burn like razor burn. Ask me how I know. Working with the shop door open, underneath, just spraying it on, blowing it in your face. Good time.
Butterflies are just dropping out of the air.
Yeah. And it'll just turn that stuff to putty.
Easy on that. They don't make that anymore, can they?
I got an extra can.
Yeah.
I'm sure if we go south of the border, we can probably find it.
Yep.
Let's see, here in our highly regulated.
Not smuggling drugs anymore. You're smuggling aerosol cans with dangerous chemicals in it.
And the good brake clean. I got a case of that kick around here too now. The old stuff. No, not on there quite long enough yet. All right, let's do this here. So that's gonna go into that pump tube down there. That's your lube pump. So that's gonna sit in there like that. You know what? Let me see that light for a minute. Yeah, okay. And that shaft goes into live drive. There we go. I'm just gonna make sure they line up on the way in.
Yep.
And then we'll give this a spray. Used to call it gasket stripper. Castle made it. That was what we always had. Someone tells me this stuff's not as good.
No.
Gasket clean. As far as the audience knows, I'm the only one.
Yeah, so far I haven't made an entrance yet. You're doing all this work. Rich is getting lazy. All he's doing is getting other people to make videos for him.
Well, if you look at this kitchen video, you see me working, you see you walking around the camera. It doesn't take the sealant off, it just highlights where it is still, right?
Yeah. I cracked the blade.
I could put the little sander disc on, but... Oh, I remember, well, you sand it, and then you're gonna take metal off, and then it's not gonna be flat anymore. Need the sharpening stone, Rich.
Yeah, I got one at home, you know?
I have one somewhere. I used for the Steiger, it worked great.
Yep. Is that John Deere oil?
It's you don't even have to say that. John Deere oil's for John Deere's. It's not John Deere. It's red, right? This is red.
Yeah.
Red oil for red.
Is John Deere oil green?
I don't know, never used it. We use the oil that this thing came with, designed and factory to use.
Yeah.
That's what we use. We should put a little oil on the. Get enough oil on my fingers. Plate in. Right?
Yep. Keep in mind that your dowels are still in place. They're not missing. That's very important for generally they stay put, but you gotta center everything.
So I knocked the seal out of the back, right? When I had this all apart, I knocked the seal out of the back. There's a seal on the output shaft.
Yep.
So you can put that in first, but then I always put the shafts in first, so you don't have to worry about wrecking the seal, right? You can always put the seal in the back later.
And you leave these O-rings off just until
Yeah,
the plate's on,
put those
so you
on,
don't wreck
clutch
those.
on. Yeah. So you can imagine now trying to get those pins
That's
out of here, right?
yeah. That doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun though.
No, it's doable. Done lots. Because we did these all the time in 5000s. I pulled it apart and I pulled the pins out of there like this, not realizing that they had changed it.
Yep.
And then I was like, what the? Oh, hey, stupid! They made it easy. Something wrong here. One bolt's longer. The ones that have the dowels on take the longer bolts. Which ones have the dowels on them?
This one and this one.
That's what I thought. That one. Right.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, I found the washer.
Okay.
Also found this down there.
Oh, that's been rubbing against something for a bit.
Yeah, probably against that. Now, should we check to make sure it shifts before we put it all back together?
Probably. Yeah. Yep. I heard it engage there.
Yeah, that's 540.
Yep, you're good.
So then when you get stuck in between, it's gonna hold it. So, that's halfway in between, right? Alright, the brake tab, so it's gonna hit on here,
Okay.
right? One way or the other.
Yeah, that looks the wear too. Is that it? That's it.
Cool. You got a bearing and a thrust washer in there. You got to make sure that don't fall over. Then you got to try and wiggle and jiggle.
There you go.
Don't knock it out.
No.
I don't know why you're supposed to seal this. Because who cares if it really leaks? It's just gonna leak into the other side of the transmission, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure it'll still get splash lubricated.
Bit of oil running here, so you got to make sure that that is off. Otherwise, this stuff won't seal. Clean and dry. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll put a little at the bottom on right away. And if I'm really worried about it on the other end, then I would put some on there too on the bottom. But that's got a big lip, so nothing can leak out of there. So we'll just scoop. So now we gotta get this in, and we gotta line up this tube with this, and that shaft with this, and wiggle and jiggle, and get it all on there. So it's just gonna jump right on, right, Rich?
It's gonna jump right on. It works better if you forget shafts.
Yeah, I know.
From here, everything is just opposite of taking it apart. Make sure it's tight. Anything to lube?
Yeah, I always put some never sees on these pins. So that
You did not. There was no never sees on that pin.
Wore off. It's been out in the weather. Never sees these pins so that they come out again. when you gotta do this next time,
Yeah.
and then put some, we put some new O-rings in the fittings,
Yeah.
and put them all back together. Make sure you get them really good and tight, so the guys swear at you next time to get the lines off.
And nice and clean. I'll fire it up and see if it spins.
Yeah, you think it's gonna work?
I hope so. I don't want to do it again. I know you want to do it again less.
I hope so even more.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Should we try that first before we back it up?
Yeah.
All right.
Is that just oil going everywhere? What's that noise?
That noise, yeah.
Okay.
It's been sitting empty for a long time. That's, it goes round and round and round and round.
Goes round and round.
Snapping out. So going to 1,000 is the easy way, right? Because that's you're not shifting anything. You just right because the spring shifting it back.
Oh, right.
Going to 540. That's when you have to push that spring.
Yep.
Well, we can do that back later. Yeah, just like that. All right, try it again.
How confident are you?
Oh, I'm very confident.
It just bumped there, but
It's locked in that
yeah, it wasn't spinning.
because you can feel it. It's engaged in that.
I'll fire it up again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you weren't sitting on the seat.
It wasn't sitting on the seat, and then it threw a code, so now you gotta shut it off for
Yeah.
the computer to reboot.
Yeah. There it goes. When you fired it up before, it made like a quarter turn, and now when you shut it off, it just does a little.
But when it
wiggle.
was in 540, it ran fine all the time?
540, it ran fine, yeah. Uh-oh.
What's the chances we got a...
The sensor, robbing one?
Well, I'm robbing a solenoid. I've had trouble with solenoids before.
Okay. Because we tested the plug, just turned it on inside the cab, and it would jump voltage real quick and then shut off. So if the alternator's not sending a signal saying that the engine's turning,
you should see it in the dash too.
yeah, your RPM wouldn't work, wouldn't it? Yeah. Okay, so it's an electrical problem in that tractor. We're not sure what it is, so we moved a couple sensors over, and it didn't seem to fix it. So we're gonna try and break this tractor. Okay, so we disconnected the speed sensor. We'll see what happens now, because with the
It could be like one wire of the two is screwed up.
yeah. It's been, yeah. That's off.
That's a speed sensor thing.
Yeah, so with the speed sensor disconnected, it runs for 6 seconds and then shuts off because it thinks that you're not matched to the front. Yeah, so if you put it into 540 now, it'll do the same thing.
Yeah, it was the same thing.
Yeah. Whew.
So that makes me wonder if it's the valve in here.
Cleaning the housing?
Just cleaning that top of that valve off. So it was something similar to this problem where it would work, the valve wouldn't.
Right, so now we're just cleaning that valve. Hold on.
Unless
You can pop it in from the other tank.
that's exactly what I'm thinking.
So we just swapped that solenoid. Sorry.
With the valve.
The valve, sorry, we swapped the valve.
But we did bugger up the wire into that switch, and this might still not give us what we want. Where'd the solenoid go?
Well, it'll work in one of them.
Why did it break all of a sudden?
Well, I have a theory to that.
Yeah, there was crap in there.
Well, yeah, it's possible, right?
It's possible.
We're not as clean as we think we are.
I'm pretty clean.
I thought it was. Wait, well, we still got that sensor unhooked, right? So.
Yeah, so it'll. Yeah. Still spinning, yeah.
Unhook those wires now.
Still spinning. Apparently you don't need these. Still going. So that does nothing.
All
right.
Something.
Okay, so yeah, this solenoid is in those dark. We tried the solenoid, swapping the solenoids. That didn't do anything. Then we checked the voltage too. We got a quick shot of voltage and then nothing. It would open to 0 volts.
Yeah, which is weird, but when things are computer controlled, they do stupid things.
So, so then we
There
changed.
was a big switch on the dash on. So
Yeah.
I don't know why it was doing that.
Yeah.
My theory is that when we had it all apart, we had the clutch apart and stuff, we probably got a piece of something somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And then we had it running and it got stuck in a valve and we shut it off, and when we shut it off, it jammed.
Yeah.
And now it won't open again. So I don't know if that valve comes apart,
I think so.
but
I saw a clip on the end.
I think I take it apart and clean it all up and try it. Yes.
Okay, so we're back. And we're gonna take this valve apart for you guys.
Is this gonna go sproing? No, no sproing.
Because it's obviously got dirt in there and it's stuck.
There it is.
A piece of dirt come out?
No, but we haven't got the valve out yet. So there is a little O-ring on there.
Yeah.
So that's why that wasn't come out. There's the valve finally.
Okay, so the hole's at the bottom. But
Well, it
why
was,
want to move? I'm just saying that the hole is.
it was stuck, right? Because what you now if we stick it in there, slides down. See, it comes right out. That tastes good. So I'm thinking if we just clean that all up and stick it back together, it's gonna work.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right, air compressor and brake cleaner. Here we go. So when I blew this out, like this, there's a hole. Something went flying, but I don't know if it was laying on it or if it was in it.
Oh.
You can see there's a little bit of crap coming out
So yeah, this slides up and down in the chamber, and it's the coil activating that pulls it and moves it. So it needs to move with very little resistance. But if that thing is galled or scarred or anything, you won't get it out of this body, and then she's toast. And you can try like 1,000 grit sandpaper and try to get it to move, but really it needs to move.
And the other thing is, if you hold on to that spool for too long, it won't fit
Because it's too warm.
because you warm it up.
Yeah.
So then you gotta lay in the
same temperature.
gotta let it lay on the bench for a while. I know it sounds dumb, but it's true. I've had that. Fixing valves, and you're messing with the valve. Oh, that stupid thing doesn't fit anymore. Go have lunch, come back. No, it fits fine. You think it's gonna work now?
It's gonna work now.
That's what we said.
That's what
That's what we said last time.
We were very confident that it was gonna work.
It did work.
It did work.
First
once.
time.
Everything works once.
Then the warranty was off, and then it stopped working. Is that in?
I think it's in.
I think it's in there. Yeah. All right. Give it a college try.
Yeah. So this is now the 110, but we took the valve out of the 110 and put it in the 90. The 90 works.
Now this one doesn't work.
Now this one doesn't work, so we'll just...
So we know it's the valve.
Yeah.
Now we're just trying to see if we have to buy a new valve or if just a little quick cleanup is gonna do it. So if this works, great. And if not, it's off to the parts store. Just lay that on there like that. Ready?
Yeah.
Contact. Likely what happened is we got a piece of something in that clutch system we had apart. And then we started it up and then that oil got in there and then we shut it off. Then whatever jammed up that spool. 'Cause you can see how tight the tolerances are. Yeah. Like you can't even see the piece of dirt that was in there. And it got stuck and it won't work again. But then we're thinking electrical.
For two reasons, because it did spin and then it stopped.
Yeah, that's right. It did spin and then it stopped. So, okay, well, and we could roll this, right? And you can hear like this one too. You can hear that we're spinning the clutch against the brake.
Yep.
So all the gears and everything's working. So either that's, and then it's throwing the code, but it's throwing a speed sensor code, but that's because it's not seeing PTO speed. And then when we pulled the solenoid wire off, I bet you if we would have checked it for a code, it would have thrown us a PTO solenoid code when we were testing it for voltage. And we had 12 volts and then right away, no voltage. It's probably because the controller sent voltage to the coil, but because the coil wasn't plugged in, it didn't see the proper voltage coming back. So it said, hey, there's something wrong with the coil. So to properly test that, you got to leave the coil hooked up and then
Backpin it or something.
Backpin the wires or make yourself a Y connector. That probably would work.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, so everything electrical was working fine, but because it wasn't spinning, then it waits 6 seconds. And then it would start, so the light was solid on for 6 seconds and then it would start flashing. So when it was solid on, it's thinking everything's normal.
Right.
But then when it doesn't see the speed, then it throws a code that
the speed's not matching.
The speed's not matching. So then it says check speed sensor, check alternator, check this, check that. So it's kind of throwing you down the wrong track when it was the valve that was stuck.
But
so going
even if you have a speed sensor or the switch go bad or the alternator go bad,
it should run for 6 seconds.
Should run for 6 seconds.
So that's where we kind of got off track there because it wasn't running for 6 seconds, and you know it's not going to be. It shouldn't be a speed sensor issue, right?
Right. Or electrical.
Well, it can be electrical. It could be a switch. It can be the solenoid. It can be all kinds of different stuff. But then it should throw you a code right away.
Right.
Like if the switch is screwed up, it'll start flashing right away. There's a code.
Oh,
right?
okay.
It should.
Yeah.
Not to say like if the switch is
there's also
completely messed up, it doesn't even know if it's on or off.
There's
right?
10 different ways for this to break.
Yeah.
So we just explored one of them. So.
Yes. So that valve being stuck, yeah, I had that once before, and now I remember it was throwing me for the same kind of loops because it's throwing you codes, but the codes don't match, and it's that valve that was stuck.
Yeah. Awesome. So I hope that helps you guys. When Kevin says he did this once before, that could be 15 years ago, 20 years ago? 20 years ago. So don't keep your comments to yourself.
Comments are fine. We got thick skin.
Yeah. But yeah, so make sure your PTO shaft is greased. Make sure you don't bottom it out. Make sure you've got room so that you don't wreck the pins. And then quick little diagnosing on the end to get our spinning. But everything's going round and round now on both tractors, so we are ready to keep going. Tractor's getting some new boots. Nice new rubber all the way around. I don't think we'll film that. It's just tires.
That's just a lot of manual labor.
Yeah. You're gonna see us struggling and swearing. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Lots of other repair videos on this channel. Kevin's the case man. I got to do my lawnmower. We got skid steer going back together again after that was rolled. and lots of other agricultural stuff on this channel. And don't forget to check out the Kenworth build. Lots of good videos we haven't posted for a while, but lots of stuff happening, and on the other channel as well. So get out there and work on it, because if you're not filthy, you're not rich.